All right, welcome everybody. This is Tuesday, December 15. This is the Culture Mastery webinar on IceQ. What it is, why you need it, and what you'll probably be without having it. Welcome to all of you who took time for this brief 45-minute session today. We will be recording this, so you will have a YouTube video to go back to and rewatch as you find necessary, or maybe share with your network. So we always like to share the information. This is content made to be shared and not to be hedged into a walled garden. Let the people know where you're joining us from. Type it in the chat box. A few people already started out. Marco Hellemans from Belgium. And from France, or Anne, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Lainey from San Jose, California. Oh, Silicon Valley. Welcome, Lainey. Peter from Germany, Deutschland. Olga from Chicago. Excellent. Thanks for playing along here. And as I said in the green room before we got started, feel free to chat amongst yourselves using the chat function. If you have a question, put it in the Q&A box. Those questions will come first. And you might see me move myself around here a little bit. I don't do this to make you nauseous, but this makes it easier for me to point at stuff, right? So IceQ, what is this? Why are we talking about this? Why do you need this? Because you want to surf smoothly, right? I use the surfboard. You want to be on the water in the waves without capsizing. You want to avoid shipwreck. You want to keep your balance when you do business outside your own culture. And the waves might be choppy on your way to global success. You might ship a lot of stuff around the globe. You will do business. And why do you need a global mindset to be successful for it? And why do you need to do this potentially in multiple language, as this slide suggests? Well, because if the waters get rough, if the winds get heavy, and the sea becomes unpredictable, then culture will have your containers topple overboard. Or as they say in American English, it will bite your rear if you don't get culture. Now, I don't want to paint too bleak of a scenario, but just keep in mind, as you're approaching the unknown, as you're entering new markets, as you're continuing to build your brand, your business in international markets, you will be confronted with behaviors that are not the same as they are at home. They might be unfamiliar, they might be uncomfortable, they will definitely be unknown. And IceQ is part of that equation to counter that. So if you want to keep riding your waves of culture, there's a famous book about this with that title of Riding the Waves of Culture. Well, if you want to ride the waves of culture smoothly without capsizing, you need the right mix of what we call power skills. I deliberately don't call it soft skills like some people still do. As you will find out, I'm very passionate about these skills in terms of their relevance. So they're neither soft nor hard, they're powerful skills. And without them, your surfing, your sailing, your shipping might not be as successful as you want it to be. Because as you see here, famous quote by Nice Nin, the world isn't always what it might appear. What you see is what you see through your own lenses, through these here, right? So you see the world through your perceptive lenses, through your filters, through your generalizations and distortions and deletions, and not necessarily the way the world really is. And IceQ is the set of power skills that will help you add a couple of more lenses to your perceptiveness. So here is what I would call the global growth formula. So let me minimize my mugshot so you can actually see this. So why did I make this funny equation here? Because I don't think it's funny. So global growth, as you see here on the left, is a function, and a function that consists of various variables. There is how much money is on the table, your deal value. There's the number of business opportunities you have. And there is how many times you will fail or how hard you will fail and how long it will take you to learn the new things you need to learn in this global environment. All of these are factors that will either positively or negatively affect how fast or how successfully you can grow in a global context. And you see, the one factor that I consider to be bottom line relevant and to be considered in this mix is ICE-Q. ICE-Q is the combination of 3 Qs, so to say. IQ, your subject matter expertise, your intellectual prowess. CQ, your cultural intelligence. And EQ, your emotional intelligence. The 3 together, we coined them ICE-Q. They are 3 power skills, 3 intelligence that combined will change this equation, the outcome of this equation. The higher ICE-Q in the light of all these other factors will determine the trajectory of your global growth curve. So imagine you could increase your ICE-Q and simultaneously decrease the length of your learning curve and your failure rate. You will be surfing smoothly and stably on your surfboard, right? So that's what we do. This is why clients come to us, because they want to increase their ICE-Q. They want to get better at their cultural intelligence. They want to improve their emotional intelligence when doing business across the globe. And they also want to increase their subject matter expertise in regards to their profession. The challenge around this is, and this is not new to most of you, the challenge around this is that we think we know a lot about these markets that we're dealing with, and that is quite true. So that green piece of the puzzle, or that green piece of that pie, that may be bigger for you, maybe smaller for you. Matter of fact is, most of us don't really know how big that green piece of the pie of what we think, of what we are certain that we know, how big that is, because you see that big red pie piece. What we don't even know that we don't know, that piece is hard to assess. That is the blind spot. That is the sailing without a map or without navigational tools. So keep in mind that no matter how much you think you know about the other markets, no matter how much you think you know about the culture of the people that you're doing business with, chances are the parts that you don't know and that may capsize your business are much, much larger. So cultural intelligence is the lighthouse, if you will. It is the stability anchor to get you into those harbors and not drift out, right? And cultural factors matter. And let me move myself again so you can actually see what I wrote down here. So culture matters because it impacts all of our behaviors. It, especially in business, not only outside of business in interacting with the locals. No, culture impacts everything we do, from presenting our product, negotiating contract conditions, setting timelines and enforcing them, resolving conflicts, building a lead funnel, attracting potential customers, building relationships with them, giving feedback about or receiving their feedback about your services or products. All of this is decidedly influenced by culture. So neglecting that or dismissing the ICE-Q factor on this is business relevant, bottom line relevant, and actually will hurt your business if you don't pay attention to that. So what's cultural intelligence? And again, let me get in the center of the picture, but get myself smaller a little bit. So you see up here, cultural intelligence is defined as a 4-step process. So you see up here, CQ drive. That is, how much are you interested in this topic? How are you driven to adapt to these multicultural situations? So first of all, how much do you want it, basically? Then how much do you know about it? And then this way, no, that way. Gosh, this is mirrored. And then CQ strategy, how aware are you and how good are you at building a plan for multicultural interaction? So now you know a lot, you learned a lot because you were driven to do it. Now, are you designing a plan to get better at global business? And finally, CQ action. How are you able to make sure that the rubber meets the road, or in this case, that the rudder is in the water and you're moving forward in the water? And that is not a finite process. This is an ongoing process, right? So that this wheel will continue, because as you set sail and you've developed a strategy and you're applying it, that will drive you to new goals and to new harbors and to new ways of engaging with your market. So CQ is not a once and done, it's an ongoing process. How do we do this? We use a lot of assessment instruments to help our clients figure this out. I'm going to highlight a few of them. This is taken from Erin Meyer's The Culture Map that some of you might be familiar with. This is looking at two cultural behavioral dimensions at the same time. You see how nation cultures communicate, whether they are emotionally expressive and loud and in your face and showing their emotional charge around a topic, or whether they're rather reserved and matter-of-factly. So that is that vertical axis. And you see the horizontal axis, that is how confrontational the communication happens. Is it okay to get into a fight because that serves finding the truth? Or is it better to avoid confrontation because it might lead us to losing credibility or respect or face with the other culture? And you see how you can plot national cultures on a grid here. Also keep in mind, and this is what we tell our clients always when we look at these assessment tools, when they involve nation cultures, that nations do not have a singular monolithic culture. These are median values that help us to approach the topic from afar. Of course, there are variants within nations in terms of cultural phenomena, especially if you look at cultures that are, or at countries that are large in geography and population, like China, India, the United States, Brazil, Russia, you will find cultural nuances within the political boundaries of a country. Or if you look at post-colonial countries mainly in Africa, and also parts of the Arabic and Asian world, where national borders were drawn fairly arbitrarily, you will find that cultures can be significantly different within the national boundaries. So a national comparison approach in and by itself will not be the entire tool, hence IceQ, because if we're only looking at this, we're discounting our IQ and our EQ when it comes to understanding the regional nuances of culture. Here is another one of Erin Meyer's, where it compares leadership style, whether it's hierarchical on the one side or egalitarian on the other, and comparing top-down versus consensus-driven leadership style. And there's a question here from Mahesh: where will China fall in this diagram? I'm sorry, Mahesh, I don't have it for this particular diagram. You should see it on this one here. You see China here, but on the previous one, I don't think we had China on that. That will be fixed in a program, right? So as clients come to us and say, I need to plot these cultures or these countries on this grid, obviously, then we will include the countries in which you're doing business or in which your company has interest, or maybe your team has team members from these various locations around the globe. So this is only a snapshot. Mahesh, I hope this answers your question. Another tool that we like to use frequently is the GlobeSmart profile, which compares cultures around 5 dimensions. You see the top one is independent versus interdependent, or individualism versus group orientation. The second one is hierarchy again, egalitarianism versus status. The third one is how comfortable with risk is one culture against the other. Do they need more certainty or are they risk comfortable? The fourth dimension is communication. How direct or indirect is it? And the fifth dimension is how much is the relationship important in doing business, or is the task at hand at the center of focus for a certain culture? I'm comparing 5 different countries from 5 different continents here, just to give you a snapshot example of how this could be done. If you don't want to compare national cultures, you can also do this with individual cultures. So if you use GlobeSmart with us, you'll have your own GlobeSmart profile, your individual cultural profile. You can plot that against colleagues who also established their GlobeSmart profile on the platform. And you can compare your cultural profile with that of, let's say, Nigeria, and you see where there might be gaps or where the gaps are smaller, and which points of behavior, cultural phenomena you may want to pay closest attention to, or give it your first attempt at modifying your behaviors and learning about it, how you can be more successful in that cultural context. And then, since culture is not only, or international business isn't only a phenomenon around culture, it is also a phenomena of personality. So as I mentioned earlier, you are a member of your passport country, and that doesn't mean that you behave the same way as everybody else in that country. So your personality obviously plays a big role in how you show up in the world. And we use a personality profiling instrument called Bank Codebreaker. I understand there's a variety of personality assessments out there. We like Bank because it assesses decision making in people. It is a values-based, scientifically validated instrument to predict decision making patterns in people. And Bank is using, like many other personality profiles, it is using 4 prototypical personality types. You see the blueprint, the action, the nurturer, and the knowledge, hence the acronym BANK. And we all are a mixture of these 4 personality prototypes, depending on what our numeric values in the assessment are. So this is what I would refer, or what I would put in the EQ basket of IceQ. So understanding, being able to read the emotional component, the value component of human behavior. And we use this assessment tool, which is, quite frankly, very successful in predicting buying behavior. Decisions. Well, first of all, it's a decision-making assessment, right? So I can find out, how do people decide one thing over the other, and a buying or purchasing decision is one of those, right? And you can use this for any type of decision-making. Mahesh is asking what is covered under Blueprint. Well, we're going to have a separate webinar just around this personality assessment tool, but I'm going to give you a quick overview. Blueprint, the Blueprint prototype, these are personalities that value structure, systems, and credentials and predictability. These are often people who enforce the rules and who like a rule-based work order or life in general. Action types like flexibility and freedom and spontaneity, and they typically are not, they don't work well with blueprints typically. So the blueprints like to stay in the box. The action personality types can't get out of the box fast enough. The nurturing types are the carers, the ones that seek harmony, that value contribution, often found in nonprofit environments. The nurturers want to recycle the box. And then you have the knowledge type people. Those are often people who value research and development, data, facts, science overall. They like the big picture. They engineer the box, if you will. And you find a mixture of these 4 prototypes in every organization. And remember, none of us are just one of these prototypes. We're all a mixture of the 4, but how they're weighted against each other, that defines who we are as a person or personality, according to this profiling instrument. So actually, here would have had a slide to explain that. So you see we have those value cards. So I hope you can read. This is a bit small for this slide, but you see the values that each of these prototypes hold dearest. So you see the blueprints, like stability, structure, systems, planning, processes, predictability. They want to they want you to stay within budget. They don't like to be surprised by footnotes or change orders. And the action types are the exact opposite. They're all about winning, about their image, about getting the deal, about looking good, about wearing the most fashionable items or driving the fastest car. So as I said, we're going to have a separate session just on our assessment tools to walk you through how they work. Now, I would like to find out from you. You're here on this session because you took an interest in this, or you've taken an interest in this. I would like to find out what is one of your biggest challenges in global business at this point. You can type this in the chat box. You can send me an email. You'll see the email address towards the end of the slide deck. If you don't feel comfortable sharing this here in public, you can also chat to me only. So there's a drop-down menu in the chat window, whether you want to chat to everyone or just to me as a presenter. It's up to you. Would like to hear what is one of your biggest challenges in global business right now, and let's see how we can get that worked out. We have a course coming up to address the IceQ in more depth and to walk you through the elements of what IceQ is. It's a live online training program. It will be 2 sessions of 90 minutes each. We haven't set a date yet since it's the end of the year. People are planning their holidays and I don't want to say are checking out, but they have other priorities. So we decided not to put this course in December anymore. This will be in early 2021, and the date will be determined by the demand. So when people say, well, I need it to be in the second week of January, that's when it's going to be. It will be 2 sessions of 90 minutes each. So what's in that? By the way, you see that bit.ly link across the slide here. That is where you can find this. You can, as you want to, actually go to that link right now and reserve your spot, because we limit it to 25 people. So once we reach the number, then that course or that cohort will be full for that time, because we're going to have a lot more interaction and exercises. So we need to keep the room or the group as well, not small, but no bigger than 25 people. So that link works. So you can go to that right now. I'll be happy to give you the link in the chat box later on. But first of all, what's in the course? What do you get for 2 times 90 minutes? So the first one is on business training. Oh yeah, hang on, that's not the slide that I you need to see this one. So the session 1 is focused on cultural intelligence. So we go through the cultural assessment and all the things related around cultural intelligence. And the second session will be a focus on emotional intelligence, and we'll talk about the personality profile and how you will apply it in your organization or for your sales and marketing teams, for instance, or for your customer service teams. You will also get a GlobeSmart profile, which will be valid for an account for 6 months, which is part of the price. So keep in mind, you saw the fee for the course earlier. You'll see it again in a second. The GlobeSmart profile, that assessment using the platform for the course of 6 months, is included in that course. And you will also get your personality profile. So you will get your own bank code breaker profile, also included in the session fee. You will also get a introduction to neurolinguistic programming, NLP, which is part of our EQ work. And I'm not going to take that apart too much on this session, but just know that what I said earlier, when you looked at the boat in the crystal clear water, and it may have appeared to some of you that it was hovering above the water surface. Others of you may have seen the water sitting solidly in the water. Whatever your eyes perceived, whatever you saw in that image is true for you, because and you may remember hearing me say this, because we delete, we distort, and we generalize the world that we experience with our five senses. So we see, we hear, we touch, we taste, and we smell, and that is how we compute the world around us. However, our minds have a mind of their own, if you will. Our minds delete, distort, generalize this information in order to make sense of the world. We give it meaning. I'd like to say we are meaning-making machines. So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is a technique that allows you to recognize how other people make meaning of their world, because the way we communicate, the way I talk, the words that I use, the inclination, the intonation of my voice, and my nonverbal communication are a reflection of how I create my model of the world. And as you learn to read people's communication on a deeper level, you'll be able to EQ, right? Part of ISQ, you'll be able to draw deductions as to what other people's model of the world might look like, and it will allow you to communicate more efficiently and in more harmony with them. That's why we're including an introduction to NLP in that 2 times 90-minute training as well. So it's your choice. You can either swim down here in that red water, in that red ocean where all the sharks are and where competition is high and people have low ISQ. Knock yourselves out, or knock them sharks and the fins, whatever you want to do. Or you have a choice whether you want to be right here in the blue ocean, right? It's up to you. You can be successful, or you can continue to do it your own way, the old way that you've been doing it at home in the red water. Up to you. So again, this is the course. Build your ISQ for global success. 2 times 90 minutes, dates 2021 to be determined. Follow this link to sign up. You will also receive a follow-up email from us, which will include that link if you don't want to change browser or computer windows right now. But let me know in the chat box if this is something that you're interested. Type in the chat box, I'm in, or type in, I want it. Let me know about it, and I'll make sure to have the information to you as soon as possible before the end of the day. So let us know, let me know you're in for building your ISQ for global success, and we'll get you started. All right, and let me forward this here. So here's the email. Here's how you can get a hold of me and ask your questions that you may not feel comfortable asking here in front of everybody else. The phone number is a US-based phone number, and we are on Eastern time. If we are not answering, that is because we're past office hours. However, the email works 24/7, so this is how you can get a hold of me. And I see some of your questions. Anne is in. Can you please send? Yes, Anne, you will get that, of course, later today. Lainey wants the information. You'll get that as well. Mahesh is asking about installments. We can certainly talk about this offline. There is multiple ways to do this. I thank you for your interest. Man, this is only half an hour. I scheduled this for 45. See how fast we got through this? Maybe you didn't ask enough questions yet. So I will let you off early, no worries. But I'm ready to hear your questions. This is the entire set of the presentation. Anne is asking, are the tools in English only? Excellent question. And no, the tools are available in multiple languages. Globe Smart profile, I believe, is at least 13. Maybe they've added a 14th language. And if I remember correctly, you're based in France. I'm very certain that it is available in French. The bank personality profile is available in multiple languages. I don't know it off the top of my head how many. So no, it is not only in English. Any other questions? You feel free to ask them now. I'm here for another 5 minutes if necessary. If not, I will let you go into your Tuesday, rest of the workday, or maybe It's already after hours in the world where you are. We've had a few people join us from the other side of the globe. Well, we have somebody in California who is an early riser, some folks in Europe. I'm guessing you're closer to the end of your workday. Mahesh, I don't know where you are, but in any case, thank you for joining us today. This was the Culture Mastery webinar on IceQ. Oh, Mahesh, thank you. Colombo, Sri Lanka. Excellent. Well, this is getting dark outside already, I would assume. Thanks for participating. Here again is the link for the program. Watch your inbox, please, people. And if you don't find it in your inbox, it may go to your junk folder. Happens to me all the time. There'll be a follow-up email later today with all the information, with a link to the recording and everything else you need to know around IceQ. And link didn't work, said Anne. Well, I'm going to make sure that I'll get you the link that does work. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope to see you on the other webinars we have planned for this week. There's another one tomorrow around global success strategies, same time. I will put the link in the follow-up email. If you haven't registered for that one, that will be tomorrow. And we have a third webinar this week on Thursday. That will be a webinar in German on doing business with the US. So for those of you who speak German, there's a couple of you on here. This might be interesting for you as well. Thank you very much. I hope to see you again soon. If not, then happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Ciao for now.